Collectors. Well, welcome back to part 2 of the tutorial for it's my vintage Christmas photo folio frame, but I'm using bird walls to make this booklet. So this is the book that I originally made, and we're going to go ahead and use the beautiful bird walls by Blue Fern, which I got at Country Craft Creations. And this is a design team project for Country Craft Creations. So what I'm going to do is I wanted to get going on putting some of the papers down in some of the larger areas, because then it'll give me other pieces that I can use and cut for pockets or flips and flaps. I don't like to start cutting into the big pieces for a flap when it's just a 7/8 of an inch, or 3/8 of an inch, or something like that. So we're going to get going, and I will give you measurements as we go. And it's not really I can't say it's really in a specific order, but it's just kind of starting out by getting us going with some of our paper so we have some leftovers. So last time we talked about was making this waterfall pocket, and it was 8 waterfall pieces on there, and they were 4.5 by 6, and we scored a 1/2 inch on the 6-inch side, and we put them all on top of this pocket, which is going to go down on one of our inside pages. So what I'd like to do right now is get started on just laying down some of the larger paper areas, and then we'll get back to assembling some of the pages as we go. So one of the things that I was working on was the inside cover, this very inside cover piece, and it was one of the first that I had done the last time. And what I'm going to do though this time is I want to change out my pocket, and I want to put it to this side, and we will put magnets across here and down here, and maybe one right in here. I'm hoping that by doing that I'm not going to get as much covered up as I did before. I got quite a bit of them covered up, and oh I don't want to do that this time. So go ahead and I would recommend using larger magnets. And I always try to make sure that when I do my magnets, I put them far enough back and far enough away so that my papers can adequately cover them. And once we have the paper on, then we can also get the other magnets on for the other side. And then that will be covered up by the paper as well. This will help to really hold our book a little bit more sturdy and steady. I apologize if you hear some groaning in the background, but that's my 130-pound dog who's missing his mother, my daughter. He's mad because she left, and he's missing her. So he's a sad little guy. Just never gets attention, right? So I've got 2 more of these magnets, the negative magnets left on here. And so I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to put one, maybe like one right down here, and maybe even one here. And I think that should be good. Now, you don't have to do this many magnets, and you can also feel free to do a ribbon closure. But I just like the way that this holds the book a little bit more closed and a little bit more steady. So that's why I'm doing it that way. And the reason why I'm not putting it down here is because the pocket is going here, and it would be nice if I could, but it's not going to help. I'm sorry, he's just such a baby. He's howling back there. And he howls like a little, or not howls, but he like whines like a little small dog you would think he would be. So what I'd like to do is I'm going to get the paper on here, and then we'll get the pocket going, and this is the paper that I'm going to use for here, and then we'll get the pocket all scored and measured, and then we'll put the other magnets on, and we'll get those onto the other side of the cover. So I used my vintage photo all around the edges on this so that I could, I just don't like any paper with a white core, especially if I'm putting it on black. So this, oh, it'll be just a moment. I'm gonna have to come back. Exodus, stop. Sorry about that. So this was on our page that was 7 by 10. So I made this paper 6 7/8 by, I did it shy of probably up about 3 inches, because so that I could, so I didn't use all the paper for underneath the pocket, but I have enough down on here that it will go below the pocket, and no one will be the wiser that it's empty underneath the pocket. So all right, we'll get that in. And then what I wanted to do was to, as I said, to put a pocket on the inside of here. And what I did is I cut this 7 3/4 by 5, and then I scored at 1/2 inch all the way around. But I want to make this an angle pocket, so I measured 1.5 inches up here and 1.5 inches across here. So with doing that, then I'm going to take my cutter and I'm going to match up both of those lines that are on the edges, and I'm just going to cut that at an angle so that I have a nice straight line on there. And that'll give us a little bit of it coming in here and a little bit up here. So let's go ahead and fold our sides up. And what we're also going to do, or what I do typically, is because this is an angle, I like to measure my photo mat on my paper that I'm going to be putting on it. So we're going to also just miter these corners to make them nice and clean. The other thing that I like to do is make sure that this isn't going to be coming over this side. So that's perfectly fine. This side I'm just going to angle down a little bit so that it doesn't hinder or come in the way of the top of the pocket. So with this, I'm going to just fold in these sides a little bit. And get that nice and creased, and it helps a lot if you can crease your paper well, because it will give you a pocket that lays just a little bit flatter. So this was a piece of paper that I was going to use. I think this is the one. Yep, I was going to use for the pocket. And what I wanted to do is to have this side on the pocket. And this time around, I think I'm not going to do the fussy cutting that I did the last time, and if I am, I'll do it at the end. But right now, I think this is a really nice pattern for this corner. And so I think what I'm going to do is just leave this plain, and we'll see what we've got to add to it afterwards. So what I typically do is I will match this up exactly to my paper, and I do it, I know it's right on the right side that I want, but then I know that I've got it all set the way I want it to, and I cut along, or not cut, I mark along here with my pencil, and then when I cut inside those lines so that I'm getting a little bit of, oh, my whole thing moved. Not good. Oh, goodness. Okay, so we're gonna, it can always be erased, but this way I've got my pocket cut down along here. And if I need that to back down a little bit to give me more of an edge, what I will do is I will trim a little bit off this bottom, never off the top and the angles because it'll put everything off. I always trim a little bit off the bottom. If I really had to back this up a little bit, I would trim off on this side. So let's get that going and we'll see how it fits on our pocket. Okay. And I even save these little pieces like this because I actually ended up using some of these the last time that I was doing the book, and it really helped in a couple spots where I needed to be just to have a little bit of paper from the edge to the side, or maybe I had miscalculated the cut a little bit. It really helped. So see how we did. So I'll take a look at this and match it up. I'm going to erase some of the pencil marks on here yet. Well, the angle looks really good. I might take just a sniblet off the bottom and a sniblet off of the top here. And by the way, that sniblet is a new crafting term that I made up. We all have our own little words, right? What do you call those little pieces? But you can see they're very little, and I'm starting with very, very little because I don't want to cut too much. I've done that way, way too often and lost a beautiful piece of paper for that spot. Not that I lost it entirely, but when you're wanting to put something somewhere and like this. Okay, let's look at this. Oh my goodness. See, look I cut that too short. Isn't that just the way it goes? I wonder. See, and I didn't even match it up before. I thought I did. Oh my goodness. So let me see what I'm going to do there. I may leave it because I may just put a piece of these little pieces coming down this side and seeing if I can trim that off easily enough. Yep, I think that's what I'm going to do. See, there you go. You get to catch me make a mistake again. So, evidently, I had this as 5 inches this way, 7 3/4. I wonder why. 6 3/4. It should have been 7 inches going across. So that should have been 8 inches, not 7 3/4. It should have been 8 inches. So change that. Shouldn't have been 7 3/4. Because if I had done 7 and then a 1/2 inch score on each side, it would have been 8. So 8 by 5. Sorry about that, but I'm not going to start all over. I'm just going to kind of go with it. And I still think I'm going to take a little bit off the bottom. The other thing is that I may even, before I put a piece of paper down there, I may even think of putting some kind of tag or ephemera over there, over this, so it may just get covered up by that and not even need the paper. So I think I'll wait and see what I might have to do that with first. So never get flustered, just make it work. So that looks pretty good. So what we're going to do then is use our vintage photo or whatever you like to clean up, or not clean up, but darken those edges. And then we're going to take our art glitter glue and put that on. There we go. That's pretty good. Tried to do a bit of this before we even got started, but sometimes I just can't do everything at once because of the fact that I lose my way, or I lose my place if I do too much at a time. So I'm changed direction here, and I'm going to actually put, I think, a piece down. I wasn't going to, but I think I am, because I can always cover up that piece if I don't like the way it looks. I can also cover it up if I think it needs to be covered up. So we're just going to take this little slice of paper, and I'm going to cut that right there. Yeah, I know, I edge everything. I guess the inside edge I don't need to do so much, but this doesn't look even. I tell you, I always cut my my paper's wonky. You know, they say to use a large scissors, but for the life of me, when I use a large scissors or a small scissors, it doesn't really matter. It seems as though I have a hard time really getting that cut perfectly straight. But I'm working on it. I'm just putting this little piece down. Hopefully it'll meld in as much as possible. We'll see what happens. Alrighty, as we move on, let's get a glue. Let's put our pocket down onto here. You'll have to let me know if any of you have started working on a folio, photo folio, or are you waiting till everything is done? Sometimes that's what I like to do when I'm watching a tutorial, is I like to wait and watch till everything is done. and then I get started on it. So whatever works best for you is the right way to go. I wasn't sure whether I was going to actually do what I was going to make the book with, if I was going to use black or another color, and I thought black was going to be too harsh, but I actually like the contrast. Let me know in the comments down below what you think about that, if you think that another color would have been better, or because I have another collection of this that I'm thinking about doing another book like this as a gift. So there we go, we've got that done. And we will get the mat for inside there. What I did in my other booklet is I put a large mat in here, and then I had, with my fussy cutting, I had another tag in here, but we can really put a couple different tags in there. So the last thing for this page, getting ready for this, is let's put our magnets down. You don't want to work with me today. All right, and so basically what we want to do is make sure that our folio is going to be standing up straight and is even with the end of this part, and then we'll stick our magnets under there, and then they'll be covered by our paper. Take that out for now. So I think this is going to hold a little better than my other book, because some of my magnets got covered by the pocket the last time, and didn't like the way. It wasn't bad, it just didn't, I thought I could do better. And actually what you can do, and what I thought about doing, was actually putting a magnet on one of the pocket, and probably should have done that, but I actually forgot about it until I had thought about it yesterday, and that's where the memory goes. This will be good, it'll work. Sorry about having to watch me pick this paper off. So first of all, I want to make sure I'm getting this pretty close to where I want it on the sides, so that it's even all the way along, and then we'll press those magnets down onto the back. And there we go, but one. The one in the middle. The magnet in the middle. There we go. They all went. So then we've got this side ready to go, and we can put our papers down onto that side. And we've got, we also did the last time with the two flaps on the inside of the booklet. So this just needs a flap or a booklet in here, or a card in here, and we're going to go to the inside. And what I wanted to do was to start off by putting some of our larger pieces of paper in again, so that I could start accumulating some cutoffs from what we're doing. So I'm going to get this paper in here and this paper over here, and also inside we'll do some of this. So let's get our vintage photo. And so it's not so much that I want to make it really distressed or anything, it's just that if you can see that white, I don't like that white I like to make it look like it has a solid core of color. And it also will blend in with that black cardstock a little bit better, so that it doesn't stand out if it's, you know, off a little bit and not exactly perfectly aligned. So that's the other reason for doing it. And I'm turning this upside down just because I think I can see it a little bit better and match it up a little bit better if I have it upside down. So this is going to go onto here. And yes, I always put it down first before I put it down or glue it down, because I like to check it one more time. Unlike my pocket, I thought I had checked it, but I'm sorry guys. Like I said, you get to watch me make all my mistakes as we go. I am not perfect. So we just bob and weave through our... Sorry guys, there he goes again. He was quiet for a little while because he was sleeping. So then I'm going to start off by trying to get this all even along here and up here and down here. Do you hear him? I am truthful in the fact that nothing is hurting him. He's just laying in the middle of the floor, and that's how he cries. And believe me, that's quiet. I never thought that such a big dog could be such a baby, but he is our baby. So get that all spread around, that glue, so that we don't have any lumps in our paper. What I think is just going to be beautiful with this is that it'll be nice to put a photo across here, but then you have this glorious pattern down on the bottom. All right, turn that around, and that's one of our flaps. The other flap that we're going to be doing over here, and these flaps were, both of them were 7 3/4 by 9 7/8. Well, actually, I'm sorry. They are probably 8. They were 8 by 9 7/8 because we scored a 1/2 inch on each side. So now with matting it though, the mat is going to be 7 3/8 by 9 3/4. And I will tell you that anytime I give you a measurement, it's always important that you check it with your own paper, your own matting, to lay it down. Because I started, here I'll show you again, I started and I cut this out. And I thought I had the right measurements. And look at, I missed all of this along here. So that was not good, but that's the reason why I cut, or I'm using this other piece, because, and I tried to find one out of my stack that was, you know, the colors complemented the colors on the page, but it wasn't exactly the same piece of paper. So I'm going to take this small little piece and I'm going to put this down. I've already done my vintage photo on this, and we're going to put this down along here, and then we'll get our other pieces of paper on. So I have a tendency, I should be measuring 10 times and cut once, but for some reason I think I have the right measurement and then all of a sudden it isn't. So we're going to then put this on this page, and we will make sure that we have a little bit of a break between these two and a little bit of a black along here. Let me just check, I think, yeah, I have my vintage photo on this. Make sure I was looking at this correctly. Oh, actually, oh my goodness, I'm so glad I turned it over. Actually, it was this side that I was going to put on there. Sorry. because I wanted these butterflies. And then I thought that it would be good to, you could do a photo here and a photo up here. Oh, goodness. That was pretty too, though. But it was the butterflies I wanted. And then we do have some of the ephemera pieces, so we can also use ephemera pieces as we kind of finish up the book and see where we want to add a butterfly or flowers or other mats or tags. Because the other thing is that we can use some of the ephemera tags as tuck spots on even, oh, sorry, that's just, I need my silver topper. So I'm going to match this up here. There we go, that's pretty good. Not perfect, but pretty good. And these wipes are just baby wipes that I buy from Costco. I dry them out and I use them on the book because it helps to pick up the glue right away. So then on these pages, oh my goodness, just had too much glue in here. Or is that the, oh, that's the, the magnet. There is glue on here, I can see. It's my fault because I have too much, I'm really kind of running too much glue on here. I should do it a much lighter hand than what I've been doing. It's a good reminder. So in here, what we're going to, oh, that's the wrong way. What we're going to do is end up, there, that just stays very nicely. Inside here, we are going to do matting, and this time around, I think I may do a mat on this side and a mat on this side, and I may put a solid card on in the middle here, but this, I'm not going to do this part right now, so we're going to let that go here. The next section that we're going to work on is matting this inside. So what I would like to do is to find some paper that is left over, some of that's already cut, and see if we can find a piece that will work along that side. And one we can utilize for covering the pocket, and, or not the pocket, but we can do something up here. Actually, I was almost thinking that this would be a really nice, because of the bluebird. But I wonder, let me just see something. I want to see if I did this here. So that would work on here, but let's see if it would work. And I think it would work well with this. I don't think I want to get too much more in there, but I also, I probably am going to have to go over this way because I want the bird on there. I'll probably cut on the flowers, some of the flowers off. I think I will do that. So a lot of times when I am marking my papers before I cut them is I put them down and I just mark off where the black is, and then I cut inside my line so that it gives me a little bit of a gap or break. That's really the way that when I'm doing any kind of book or cutting on my own, quite honestly, that's how I do it, and I find that I 99% of the time get a better cut than when I try to do it all by measurements. And was not my original idea. I watched Scrap Queen do this for a long time on her books, and not sure about her feeling about it, other than I know she doesn't like to measure very much. And I'll be honest, I think it's fine to measure when we're doing the bones of the book, so that you have the right measurements for pages and things like that. But the matting almost is more difficult to really do, like give somebody measurements. And I know there's some designers out there that are just terrific at that. So I'm just saying I'm not good at that. So I do much better when I mark and cut off, and just have to go back and cut little slivers off again. So I'm going to do that. And it's where I get the best cut. So I know. So really what that ends up being is 4 3/8. So that was 4 1/2. So it's the right cut. And this was 5 3/8 as well. 5 3/8, because it would have been 5 1/2 with a 1/2 inch, because they were 6 by 4 1/2. So that's a perfect fit on there. So the reason why I did this is I wanted to get this on here. I'm not going to do and cut all the little strips down here. I'll do that off screen, so that you don't have to watch all those little pieces. And but I will show you what I'm doing, or what it's going to look like. And sometimes what I do is I will do a piece of paper, and I'll do the picture all the way down. In the vintage Christmas, I just used like papers going all the way down, and I thought it looked very nice. So sometimes you can do a picture, and if you've got a really nice cut apart or picture or paper picture that you can put on there and it looks great, then I would suggest to go ahead and do that. Light hand. With art glitter glue, you don't need a lot. When you put a lot on, the nice thing about putting a lot on is you have a little bit more wiggle time, because the drying time is very, very quick with art glitter glue. When you only have a small amount on the page, it really dries very, very quickly. So I think that's a beautiful top to that. All right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a look at this and see what if I want to do this, or if I want to do this. You know, it covers up some of the nice flowers, but I don't want it too gaudy on top when there's a lot going on here. So I think I'm going to just do that, and we'll get this piece of paper down, and once we get this down, then we'll put the pocket on. And the other thing that I did with the waterfall here on this book, oops, I'll show you with the waterfall here. This flap right here was actually done right underneath the pocket, so we'll cut that and put this piece of paper here, and then we'll find, oh darn it, you know what, I did it again. I put my paper down before I put my magnet down. So I might do that magnet on the other side, I'm not sure. See, isn't that wonderful to watch someone make so many mistakes? I'm so sorry. I think I'm doing it all in the right order, and then I'm not. So before you put this down, please put your magnet on there. And you don't have to match up your magnet and your tag for underneath your paper. Just make sure that it's up a little bit, and then you can just make your tag so that it's up a ways as well. So, alrighty. So embarrassing. Sorry about that. I just dislike making mistakes, but you forgive me, I hope. And so then if we take a look, and for our pencil cut is right here is our pencil line, we'll make sure try to make sure we're even all the way across, and save all our little cut pieces. And sorry, I'm just getting this a little bit off. Okay. So next we're going to go into our black scraps, and I'm going to find a flap. That I can put down before I put my pocket on. Sorry about my head if my head's in the way. I know some people say that, oh, your desk looks so clean when you're crafting, but really outside of your view, it's not so clean. See, I even have all these pieces laying here. I'm trying to keep it clean, but I'm not a perfect crafter. So then this is going to go down here, and I purposely, like we talked in the last, I made this a little bit shorter so that it wouldn't go over the edges of that. So let's get our black piece of cardstock, and you know, I made it a certain width when I made this, but it's not, you don't have to make it the width that I make it. I just look at what I have left for cardstock and what I think, you know, my cutoff pieces and what I think might work well. So I probably am just going to do a piece that size, and again, it's usually about, I'm going to cut a little bit that. It's usually about 2 inches wide, 1.5 inches wide, whatever you're comfortable with. I think I'm going to measure this, even though I measured it smaller, I'm going to do 2 inches wide. So 2 inches wide for our flap. And then we're going to take a look at this, and this is where we want our flap to come. So I may even put my magnet here and do a little piece of ephemera or something over it. Let's just see what we've got real quick. So some of these are much larger than I would use. I don't want to use anything too beautiful because it's going to basically be covered up, but I don't want it to look ridiculous either. Okay, so I've got 2 there. That might work. The other thing that I have that I can always look on too is these are the cut aparts in the paper. And the other ones had some real little strips, but there aren't any that are too short or small here, so I think I'm going to see if I put my magnet down that maybe I could use this tag to cover it up. And I think that would work, or I could even do this tag and it might look a little bit more fitting. So I think well, I don't know. I think I'd rather use this on a page, and this, I wouldn't care if it got covered up too much. So I think that's what I'm going to do. So once again, let me get this down, see how far up I have to go. And again, you can always do this and cut it down too. You can make it as long or as short as you want, but I try to center it. So there we go. I think that's where I want it. It was very technical, wasn't it? I just measured her up. I might go ahead and do a small 1/8 of an inch. I think I'm going to second fold on there. I'm going to see how that looks. I know I should have scored it, but just doing it the fast way here. So that it gives us a little bit of room when pictures get into that waterfall. You don't want it to be too floppy, but we also want it to have an opportunity to move a little bit with the fullness of this. So that's perfect. We'll do that. And I'm going to go ahead and put this down. Underneath, and we'll do that. All right, and we've got this here. And this isn't quite centered. You know, and I thought about that as I was doing it. I'm like, here, I'm going to do it, and it probably won't be centered. So this is all underneath. I'm just moving it. Should have done that first. Sorry. I feel like I apologize all the time. I'm sorry that I'm sorry all the time. Is that how it goes? It's just the way it goes in paper crafting. Those things happen. And you think you did it a good way, and then it's not the best way. So we're going to put this here, get it centered, get it down. And I want to get it as flat as possible because I don't want anything catching on it as it goes into the pocket as well. If you're really worried about that, see, this is nice because it covers with this pattern paper, but if you're worried about that at all, you can always put a piece of tape, like packing tape or something, a small piece, and that'll give it a smoother run through or a smoother run that way. But that's the reason why we always we glue the bottom piece to the outside of these flaps so that your tags should more easily run into your pockets that way. But that's the same thing. If you find that you have a lot of problems with tags getting stuck on this, you can actually put this part of your pocket down first along the edge, then put some packing tape, not a huge piece, but a piece along here to flatten that down, and then it will, your tags will slide and you won't really have that problem that we all seem to have once in a while when trying to get a tag back into our pockets. So I've done it a couple of times. I don't worry about the tags so much anymore because doing my pockets this way, I've had pretty good success, and I just patiently put my tags in. But if you find that you have a lot of problem with that, it's not a bad idea to try and see if that helps with your tags sliding in and out better. Okay. That's good. And if you have a problem with the glue sticking down, you can take, I took clothespins the last time, and I just put them on the edges of this for just a couple minutes, and just helps to hold everything a lot tighter, and your glue won't seem to move on you. So then let's do this. I am going to use a magnet for that. Let me get another magnet out. I've used that whole pack up. So I've got more magnets in my drawer. I think I have more magnets than I... There he is. He wants attention. Can you hear that? Sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm actually going to use some of the smaller magnetic discs on this one, and I might just put 2 across there to make sure everything stays good. Okay, well, I am going to go ahead and do that, and then I'm going to get a couple other things ready, and if this isn't too long, I will come back and finish up with a few more items. If it's about an hour, then I will put it onto the next tutorial. And Exodus says goodbye to you as well. Thanks, ladies. Bye.